I don't know why, this is my 5th time recording this intro, so hey, this is your 6th time now. So, welcome to Battlefield 1 Podcast, the best Battlefield related podcast on the planet. Good morning, good day, good evening everyone, wherever your time zone is. My name is Tom, also known as TheLankySoldier. And yeah, as you probably heard it, EA is a privately owned company now, so no more cringy shareholder meetings with quotes like, a love letter to the fans, or the next Battlefield will be a tremendous live service, whatever the case may be, right? No more of that, no more shareholder meetings. And some people think it's a good thing, and some people think it's a bad thing. Well, it is both. So, we'll talk about that. In other news, Battlefield Studios dropped community update, talk about the next update is coming in 7-8 days, which is the Top Gun one, the Phase 2 of Season 4. We'll talk about that. There's some cool stuff mentioned there, which kind of got me excited in a good way. Like a community update that is actually pretty nice. Okay, that's good. So that's nice. And there's some other stuff happened, but the majority of the topic today will be the EA is going private and the community update, and yeah. So let's talk about that. So thank you guys for joining, and grab a drink, grab a snack, whatever you're doing during these listening to, while you do listening to this podcast. Enjoy the show, and let's talk about Battlefield.
But then when you've got Angel screaming, Angel does it again, and
that was something, right?
That was something.
I'm sorry, you canceled the support for the game a month ago.
Why would they even host a train?
I don't know.
And I sit down and he picks up one donut and eats it. So you want to QA games?
When the rubber meets the road, they're gonna be like, oh my god, I don't like seeing Mario get his skull smashed.
Oh, I would love
it
to see
doesn't
that.
work.
I would love to
Yeah,
see
again.
So of course, first and foremost, as always, guys, thank you so much for choosing us to listen on a weekly basis for an hour, spending an hour with us. Thank you guys so much. Thank you guys for everything. Without you guys, this show would not exist. And thank you our Patreon supporters that actually make this happen. Without our Patreon supporters, this show would literally not exist, and I can't thank you guys enough. Thank you guys for listening to Battlefield 1 Podcast. Thank you guys for sticking with us. Thank you for dealing with our nonsense and everything, and you're really interested in Battlefield, just like us. Thank you guys so much. Thank you for everything. Patreon.com/TheLankySoldier, $2 or $5 if you want to support us, get some extra episodes, extra content, early access, all that kind of stuff. Thank you guys so much. This would not exist without you guys. Simple as that. Patreon.com/TheLankySoldier. That's Patreon.com/TheLankySoldier. And of course, stick around till the end, because I want to announce what's happening for the next upcoming month with the episodes and everything. So I think you should be excited, because there's some cool stuff happening. So we'll talk about that at the end of this episode. So stick around for that. Right. So before we continue, we talk about the Saudis, all that kind of stuff. I'm not a financial person. I don't know all the financial stuff. I don't know shares. I don't know business, that kind of stuff. All this jibba jabba about business and how to tax loopholes and everything and all that kind of stuff, that's very complicated. I'm not an expert. I will not tell you, is this a good thing or a bad thing? I'm learning with you guys. As we go with this episode, I'm learning as you guys, at the same time. Maybe you know about all of this. I don't really know. I had to do some research, because I'm not really fully in tune. It's not my world, right? So I had to learn everything what it means, EA going private. So we'll talk about that. So before we continue with the Saudi thing, let's talk about the community update that just dropped a couple of days ago. So Battlefield Studios dropped a community update called Top Gun Incoming. And long story short, I'm not gonna stay here for too long. They're just basically saying that, hey, Wake Island is coming on August 18th. Carrier Strike, aka Carrier Assault, or Titan mode for you 2142 people, is coming to the game. Fighter Sweep, it's just a new Gauntlet mode is coming, which is a jet mode, and new hardware and new Fort Linden at POI, so Battle Royale updates. And then there's some stuff about content experience updates and matchmaking and Portal, and the last bullet point says take flight, so I guess is the Top Gun thing. Anyway, so Wake Island is coming. I don't have to tell you much about that. Okay, cool. They share a screenshot of the Wake Island, how the map looks and everything from the top view. And some people say, yeah, it looks like the Battlefield 5 redesigned version of Wake Island, which is fine. I have no problem with that. I actually don't remember if I ever played Wake Island Battlefield 5. I don't think I did, because I remember I was so not into Battlefield 5 at that point. I don't think I even played Wake Island. But hey, so it's gonna be my first. Well, I'm gonna play Wake Island in a couple of weeks, and that one is gonna be dropping in the update. But anyway, long story short, Wake Island is coming. That's all you have to know. Carrier Strike, which is Carrier Assault, is coming. And Carrier Strike is a new mode where both teams fight to destroy the enemy carrier, capture key sectors across the island, deploy vehicles, and create openings for pilots to strike deeper into the enemy territory. As carrier takes damage, the battle escalates with the final objective inside the vessel, turning the match into one last coordinated assault to finish the fight. So, back in the day, the carrier assault, how it was, like you had to fight for flags, like it was like a conquest match. And the more flags you capture, the more missiles will be attacking the enemy carrier. And of course, if they have flags and everything, those missiles from the other flag or other objectives will be attacking your carrier. And it's like, okay, who can destroy the defenses of the carrier? And then you can rush the carrier and like plant an MCOM and destroy the air carrier, and you win the game. That was the mode. This sounds almost exactly the same, except instead of missiles coming from the objectives, it sounds like it's gonna be like jets attacking the air carrier or something like that. So it's probably gonna be more cinematic, if you might say. So anyway, we'll see how that works. I'm excited. Of course, it's gonna be LTM for now, but they say if it's gonna be a very popular mode, they keep it around. But at the moment, it's LTM. Like with every season coming out. Every season with a new mode coming out, it's LTM at first. Then there's a new RedSec Gauntlet mode, fighter sweep, take down enemy jets and destroy stockpiles placed across the play space to build your team's score. So yes, it's basically a jet mode. So cool, that's cool. Like I said, it's a cool thing for people that maybe want to learn jets, how to play jets and everything. So that's cool. So I'll try that when it's out. Then there's new stuff coming out, like the jets. We already know about the jets. I don't have to tell you much. Battle Royale map for Linden is getting a new POI, point of interest, which is going to be a semi-destroyed carrier on the map. It's going to be like on the south of the map, and apparently it's going to be a high value zone. So basically, all the good loot is going to be around in that area. Temporarily, they say for like a week or two. So that's cool, so people can explore and fight for that location. So that's cool. Anyway, so that's that. They talk about combat experience updates, so they talk about combat and everything. And they talk about a thing called ADS Dispersions Crosshair. That's, I think we talked about many months ago. I don't remember where. I think it's right before Season 3. They were talking about one of the community updates or something like that. They were talking about ADS Dispersion Crosshair or something, like, I don't know what's it called, but it was basically, they were talking about a system in your HUD that will tell you what kind of bloom you have while firing. So I was imagining back in the day, I don't remember which episode was it, but again, it was like 3 months before the Season 3 came out. It's one of those episodes. You probably can find it. I was thinking it's gonna be like just a circle around the crosshair, and the bigger your bloom is, the circle gets bigger. So I imagine that's how it would work. And everyone still have no idea how it's gonna work, but a lot of people kind of have the same idea as me. So is it just gonna be like a circle around the crosshair, and just the circle expands the more you shoot, and it just shrinks the less firing you do? So anyway, so I think back in the day, back then, a couple of months ago, I thought it was a cool thing, and I thought it's gonna be Season 3 thing, because they were talking about like, oh, it's coming, but it never came. It's finally coming with Season 4 Phase 2, and I think that's a good addition to the game. I personally think it's a good addition to the game. I think back then I thought it was a good addition, and to this day I still think it was a good addition. And yeah, I was completely forgot this thing even mentioned months ago, and they finally introducing it. So I guess, yeah, slow development time, you know. Skeleton crew working on Battlefield 6 or whatever the case may be, right? But it's finally coming. That's a good thing, and we'll see how it works. Obviously I'm gonna turn it on just because I will take any possible thing helpful for me to play better at the game. Why not? You know, it's like the same thing in Fortnite with audio visualization setting, right? So if you don't want to like have headphones on or whatever the case may be, or you're playing on mute or whatever the case may be, even if you're playing with sound or headphones, like audio visualization is such a nice tool in Fortnite. It's basically, you don't have to think too much because the game is just telling you like, oh yeah, there's a chest here and there's players over there and everything. It's not like it's not like an aimbot or whatever. And I know some purists will be like, oh, it's very casual friendly. It's for the casuals and everything. Everyone's gonna turn it on because it makes the game easier, all that kind of stuff. But I don't think you guys understand that stuff like that is important to the general game of, like, for example, my girlfriend that plays Fortnite, she's a good player and she gotten really good at playing Fortnite. She can shoot. She actually gotten really good, but having that option on is very helpful for her because she doesn't want to play with headphones and everything, and speakers, you know, will get a bit muddy with his footsteps or whatever the case may be, right? That it helps a little bit and just helps a lot of people. And also, if let's say you want to be quiet and everything, that usually is designed against. If you want to crouch and get some silent footsteps, that will not show up on the screen with the audio visualization. But I'm getting out of topic here. This is basically the same thing. It's basically explaining to the player how much bloom you have while firing this gun. I think it will be extremely helpful to a lot of people. And it will make good players even better because, listen, I can assure you, a lot of good players will turn this on, not because, oh, it's easier for them. It is making things easier, but it just makes a bit more predictable, understandable. It's a nice feature. I think this idea is the dispersion crosshair thingy. I think it's a very cool thing. I think it's going to be very helpful to everyone, and I think this should, and if it works really well, this should be the standard going forward, you know, whatever the next game is and other future games. And I can imagine maybe other games using this thing. Like, we'll see how it works. We'll see how people react. So that's that. Is there anything? Yeah, they say the goal is to give players a clearer visual read on how dispersion works, especially as you practice burst control, movement, and weapon handling. And apparently it's going to react to your movement too, because believe it or not, movement does affect your bloom. So that's that. So we'll see how that works. Okay, what else we have? Airplane control assist. Apparently you're getting some sort of airplane control assist for the jets and everything, for people to learn how to fly jets. Cool. Probably for me, because I don't fly jets. So that's that. Gunplay, that's the thing. Thank you for continuing to share feedback on Gunplay, Time to Kill, and Time to Death. Our goal is to keep combat responsive and rewarding while making sure players have enough time to understand what happened and respond when a fight happens. We shared previously our initial findings showed TD increase across most weapons and ranges following the last major Gunplay update. Those results have remained steady so far, blah 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 blah, I don't care. The most important paragraph is this. We do not want to push too far and make enemies feel like bullet sponges, so our focus is to reviewing weapon performance, identifying outliers, and exploring balance adjustments, including opportunities to improve on underperforming weapons. It's a completely different episode entirely just talking about this, because listen, I'm just gonna say this. I mostly care about the netcode and all that kind of stuff, right? I don't think the gunplay is bad, but I don't think it's good either. It's just average in my opinion. Speaking of, actually, wait, they're talking about, the next thing. It's okay, I'm not talking about the weapons thing, because whatever, this is just not important right now. The next thing, whether they talk about the matchmaking. We recently made a playlist adjustment across all regions to improve matchmaking health, queue times, and match quality across the most active modes. These changes are intended to better align players around modes with strong activity while still keeping flexibility through portal and custom search. We're already reviewing early feedback and tracking the data to understand how these adjustments affect the overall health of the matchmaking. We'll continue monitoring closely to make additional changes where needed. We continuing to read your concerns and feedback around matchmaking. We are also planning to discuss matchmaking in more detail, where we go deeper on our goals, what we're seeing in the data, and where further improvements can be made. So, I played some Battlefield 6 since this thing happened. So I talked about it on the last episode, and I'm gonna talk about this one. Okay, so I played Battlefield 6 a lot. Matchmaking times kinda improved. Kinda. It's still a bit long. Also, furthermore, I forgot to mention, so they last episode I mentioned they removed King of the Hill, so that was not nice. And they removed a Rush right now. So, King of the Hill, Squad Deathmatch, okay, who gives a damn about that? Rush is also removed entirely. And of course, a lot of people saying, how dare you to remove Rush? It's like one of the Battlefield modes. And I've seen some people say, well, Rush was never good in Battlefield 6, so why do you care? I don't think it was bad. That's my opinion. Was it great? The most perfect mode? No. Was it horrible as people say? No. I think it was okay. I think it was decent, especially Rush worked really well on Liberation Peak. That's the map, right? With the mountain? Yeah, Liberation Peak. That Rush is fantastic on that. And people say, you know what pisses me off mostly about this? People, the Battlefield community is bitching about, oh, they removed Rush, right? But this is the same community that bitches that Rush is not 64-player matches. And that pisses me off so much, for obvious reasons, because Rush always been an amazing 24 to up to 32 player matches. Like, up to 24, 32 players. Always work the best. Because that's Rush. That's the point. The point of Rush was to, like, that one squad basically trying to carry the game and try to win the game, or defending or tank, it doesn't matter. Rush always been the best mode when it was up to 24 and 32 players, depending on the map. Always. And people that want 64-player Rush matches, I'm sorry, go fuck yourself. Go play Breakthrough. Go play something else. Don't... And I remember this thing was in Battlefield 2042 that did unimaginable damage to Rush, which was Rush XL. Rush XL was basically, if I remember correctly, 120-player Rush? Is it 64 players was 64, or was it 64-player Rush? I don't remember. It was a very ridiculous big number, and it's just brain dead. Brain dead. It's just absolute brain dead experience, and loads of people love that brain dead experience, and now they want Rush to be the same thing with 64 players or whatever the case may be, right? In Battlefield 6, like, oh, Rush is boring and not fun and so bad because they have 64 players. In what fucking universe? Rush always been 24-player mode, always. I remember when Battlefield 1 came out, and they finally no, Rush is gonna be a 24-player experience and 24-player experience only. And I remember people bitching that they could not increase the player numbers for Rush because there was no server browser or server rental program, whatever the case may be, right? There was nothing of that. And people were bitching that they could not increase the player numbers for Rush. I'm like, but that's Rush! That's the point! Rush always been the best with 24 players. But anyway, I'm going off tangent here. People that scream for 64 Rush, I think you're insane. You're actually insane. You should stay away from the internet and just don't say anything about Battlefield, because you clearly don't understand. I'm sorry, but that's the truth. That being said, regarding matchmaking, so yeah, they removed some modes from the end. I don't know if my matchmaking is fast or whatever. Actually, I think it's actually worse. My matchmaking kind of became worse because I'm using custom search, and the custom search removed loads of modes, and I select the maps I want to play. Back in the day, it was like a minute max. Now it takes a while for the server to fill up, which is not great. And also, I also have a conspiracy theory. I don't know if I'm full of shit or not. Could be a placebo, could be I'm just unlucky, whatever the case may be, but you heard it here first. I would be not surprised if there was skill-based matchmaking introduced with this last update. Hot take. If anyone wants to do some tests or whatever, see if that's the truth, I don't know. I could be just unlucky. I could be imagining things. I don't know. I'm not saying it's the truth. Hence what I'm saying, I don't know. But the impression I got since I started playing, since this update, they started doing this playlist changes, my matches are so sweaty. Extremely sweaty. Every single match I've been playing are very, very sweaty. And I'm a good player. I'm a decent player. By Battlefield standards, I'm above average. I'm a good player. And I don't mind playing against good players. I'm okay with that. It's fine. I can play against good players. And I'm happy to play against good players. That's fine. But when every match is a ranked mode, a competitive tournament, kind of gets tiring in a sense. And I don't know, could be full of shit. Again, could be full of shit. I don't know. But every single match since this update happened has been very, very sweaty. Very sweaty. I'm playing against really good players every single match. I don't know what is it. And the first thing that comes to my mind, oh, they added some sort of skill-based matchmaking. Because I don't know, something's going on, and it's not like I became bad overnight. What? Suddenly this week I'm really playing badly. For some reason I'm just not playing good. My shots not connecting, or everyone's using like cheesy tactics, and everything like any good player would do. Obviously, again, I don't mind playing against good players, but every match, there is just a sweat fest, and I have to lock in to do decent. It's kind of weird, isn't it? Again, it could be a placebo effect. I could be full of shit. But tell me, people that listen to this podcast, tell me if you've been playing very sweaty match. If you're a really good player, or whatever the case may be, and you start receiving very sweaty matches in the last couple of days, this last week, last week since the update for the playlist dropped, tell me if your matches are more sweaty. Because that's the impression I'm getting. That something doesn't feel right. Because back in the day, I used to have like somewhat easy matches, somewhat or more competitive matches, and that's fine. That's like the round of matchmaking, right? Like put the team balancer puts the good players on that side and all, and we'll see how it happens. But every match right now, I'm telling you, I'm not even joking, is a sweat fest for me. I have to lock in to play good. Every single match. And that's so weird to me. I don't remember being this sweaty back in the day. Again, skill-based matchmaking. Is that a thing now? Is that what they did? But they just never said anything. They could. I want to believe they didn't. But for some reason, I'm getting this impression that there's some sort of skill-based matchmaking. Again, I don't know. If someone wants to do some tests and see if that's the case, please prove me right. Even though I don't want you to prove me right, because I don't want this to be true. But we need to know the truth. I don't know. Again, it could be full of shit. But it feels like we have skill-based matchmaking now in the game. That's the impression I'm getting. That's all I'm gonna say. I don't know. I'll tell you more about that later when I play a bit more, but that's the impression I'm getting. Like, I played for a whole week. I played like a good number of matches, and every match on multiplayer, at least in multiplayer, very sweaty. Don't know. It's just very sweaty for some reason. Anyway. Okay, so last bit is about Portal. So, nothing much to talk about here. They say, okay, custom lobbies, spectator mode is coming, Wake Island, Soul Reef, coming to Portal, blah, 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 cool. The most important thing is this. The advanced editor is where the selected Portal creators gain access to experimental tools, including baked lighting and terrain editing. These additions improve visual fidelity throughout baked lighting, improved performance, and unlock new creative possibilities by allowing creators to reshape landscapes through height map editing and terrain shader painting with materials such as grass, dirt, and rock. So that's all I'm gonna say. That's what they're adding with Portal in the upcoming update. And this is fantastic. Fantastic. Now, they talk about this, but it's not important. The point is that Portal always suffered that there was like, yeah, the tools are amazing to make anything you want. That's great. but what it was lacking was terrain editing and lighting stuff. So if you want to, let's see, I can't remember, was it like 7 months ago, 8 months ago, someone made Portal remake in Portal, right? Someone remade Portal someone remade Metro in Portal, and the lighting looked garbage. It looked bad. It looked really, really bad. But there was some screenshots of that same map, the person that made, and they helped him to change some stuff, how the lighting looks in the map. It looks so much better, looks more visually pleasing, looks a bit more, it's still clearly fan-made map, but looks so much better. But now they're giving these tools to other creators, and it's not for everyone right now. This is right now only for select few, just to see how it works and everything and see what they can improve. And this is amazing. So now we're gonna get proper terrain editing, proper lighting editing and everything. So many things we will able to do now just to make something new in the game. Something amazing. Like we can get some people talk about remakes and everything. I don't care about remakes. I want someone to create some new maps that are really exciting and interesting, that just like you never seen in any Battlefield game. Or improve some certain maps that need improvement and just make them better. And with the server browser coming in 7 months, 8 months, with server browser and everything, this can be a very revolutionary, amazing thing for Battlefield 6. We'll see how it goes, but I'm glad they actually added that to Portal, and right now it's only for specific people that have access to it. But regardless, like, let them work with it, let them improve it, and then after it can go to everyone else after all the initial testing, all that kind of stuff. This is exciting. I love it. I personally love it, and I hope this will be amazing as it sounds. So that's good. That's all I have to say. One of the really good things for Portal that we needed for a really long time. So I'm glad. So yeah, that's that. That's the community update. And is there anything else? No, nothing else. Okay, that was the community update. Short one, but even though I talked for half an hour, but hey. Short one, but that's what's happening in the next upcoming update. And yeah. We're gonna give you impressions when I'm gonna be back from holiday. So when I'm gonna be back from holiday, then we'll talk about that. Because yeah. Anyway, so stick around for the end of the episode. We'll talk about that. Anyway, so let's talk about the Saudi deal. The thing that will change Battlefield and EA forever. So everyone, the day is the day. Well, the month is the month. I don't know. Anyway, EA is a privately owned company now. Also, before we continue, I'm just saying, if you're still listening to this, thank you guys so much. Check out Patreon, patreon.com/TheLankySoldier. That's patreon.com/TheLankySoldier. Check out for extra episodes, extra stuff, and early access, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, thank you guys for everything. Thank you guys for listening. So yeah, let's continue with this. Right, so EA is a privately owned company now. The company is now privately owned by investment firm Silver Lake Private Equity Group Affinity Partners, led by US President's son-in-law Jared Kushner, and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund. So these are the people that own EA right now. Right, well, what else they were saying? So I'm going through the article by Eurogamer, written by Conor Marker. I think that's his name, if I pronounce it correctly. I'm sorry if I didn't. So I'm reading his article, and he talks about this thing, and there's lots of things happen. Like, I don't even know where to begin. So I guess first and foremost, I'll be honest straight with you all. I'm not happy that Saudis own EA, because I personally don't agree with anything the Saudis do, especially the Public Investment Fund. Now, for people that are thinking, why are they buying EA? Especially US President's son-in-law, Jared Kushner. And if you know this person, he's not a good person. Everything I heard about him and everything he's trying to do, he's not a good person. If anyone anyone was paying attention about the FIFA situation that has been happening for the last, since a couple of weeks now, since if you heard President Infantino want to sell shares to private equities, and one of the people that want to buy that stuff, a share in FIFA, was literally Jared Kushner and his company. So, where bad stuff is involved, usually you'll find his name. And why people are asking why Saudi Arabia wants to buy EA in the first place, right? Well, with Saudis, I don't know if you noticed, for the last 5-10 years, they've been trying to legitimize themselves as a country. So, yes, they have, like, forget about the human rights and all that kind of stuff, right? They have oil, they have loads of money, they have billions that they can spend, but they know that these billions will not last forever, which means that that oil is not gonna last forever. They know that, and when that oil is gone, the world will move on to something else other than oil, which I think we should have moved on ages ago, but that's not the different story. So they know that. So everything they've been doing for the last 10 years with everything in the country, whether it be video games, sports, something, mostly sports, mostly like sports washing, all that kind of stuff, whitewashing, whatever you want to call it, right? They've been working really hard to give this impression to people that they're a country that will support those sports, those events, those ideas and everything, It's just to promote that idea that they're a country that want to support these kind of things. Because in the future, they want to, like I said, they want to legitimize themselves as a country that can survive without the oil. Without the oil, Saudi Arabia realistically has no value to the planet. As a country, they have no value realistically, right? What they can offer as a country, right? What can they offer, as a nation? And they know that oil is not going to last forever. So they're trying their best while they can to legitimize themselves as a proper country. Like, we have these events, you can host your esports World Cups and everything, all that kind of stuff, and bring all the best football players into the country. All right, we have a good league and tournaments happening, and whatever the case may be, right? Like, the World Cup is gonna be happening in Saudi Arabia soon, right? This is all part of the plan to get it, like, to legitimize the country. Like I've been said, I said this like 3-4 times now, but that's what they're aiming for. Sometimes they succeed with certain projects, sometimes they don't. The golf thing, for example, people just don't, Anyway, so they said, and EA is one of those. Like, if they own one of the biggest companies out there, they can legitimize themselves. Like, hey, we own one of the biggest publishers in the world, and it's part of, like, right now they think it's out, but 10 years from now, 15 years, from now, if everything goes well, people will think them, like, the new generation, kids and everything will think, oh yeah, it's always been a Saudi company. Well, no, not ever. It's a pretty new thing. But anyway, what they say this moment recognizes the extraordinary people whose creativity, ambition, and passion have made EA one of the world's leading interactive entertainment companies, said EA CEO Andrew Wilson, with his 38 million in his pocket. We're entering this next chapter from a position of strength with partners who share our vision and ambition. Together, we'll invest boldly, accelerate innovation, and build the next generation of games and experiences for the hundreds of millions of players and fans who inspire us every day. Just, is there anything? The Public Investment Fund of Saudi Deputy Governor said, having been a minority investor in the company for more than 5 years, we have a deep understanding of EA's unique platform, massive global sports and gaming franchises, and iconic IP. Entertainment and sports are key areas for strategic focus for Public Investment Fund, which I've been saying, and we're among the fastest growing and evolving sectors around the world. Together, the consortium is uniquely positioned to be a long-term partner to EA's management team in driving sustained growth and innovation for EA industry. Okay, then there's a quote from Silver Lake guy. Who cares? I don't care. Alright, so first announced in September last year, the deal gradually won over various regulatory hurdles, including the European Commission and the United States Trade Federation Commission. Parties involved with the acquisition have faced criticism during the process, including Jared Kushner's connection to the political power and Saudi Arabia's poor human rights record. Yeah, like we said. It's also worth noting that this acquisition is a leveraged buyout. We'll talk about that. And a record-breaking one, too. The purchase of EA has been partially made with debt, which means interest payments every year must be made by the company's new owners. $18 billion of debt has been taken on by EA, with annual interest payments of $1.8 billion now, an added cost to the must contend with. Okay, all right, that's what this thing. Anyway, so they bought EA. So what was the leverage buyout? That means the people that bought EA, they borrowed loads of money from banks and establishments and everything to buy this company, to buy EA. They borrowed a lot. This is the biggest leverage buyout in history, as far as I know. So that means this debt is on EA, not them, EA. And that's my biggest worry. Like, what's stopping them to literally, okay, what we bought EA, what's stopping them to like have this, squeeze everything out of the company and then piss off later on, because the debt is not going to be on them. The debt is going to be on EA. And from what I heard from many people that somewhat interested in this kind of stuff, they said that usually leverage buyouts, which is you borrow loads of money from somewhere to buy the company, doesn't end well for the company that got bought. Doesn't end well. Usually those companies get stripped down to nothing, everything squeezed out of them until there's nothing left, and then down the line, like the debt can be paid and nothing can be fixed, everything, then this company either gets dissolved or gets sold, the pieces get sold to other companies or whatever the case may be, right? So there's no more of that company left. So it usually never ends really well with a leverage buyout. And when EA is being owned by Saudis, and it was a leverage buyout, it was not straight up cash or whatever the case may be, like Saudis would because they have money, you would imagine they're like, yeah, fine, we'll pay 40 billion and the rest can pay 20 billion, whatever, and we have money to buy EA. No, that's not how it was. This money was borrowed. Like 80-70% of it was borrowed to buy this company. And, which basically means, I can go to the next paragraph. It says, so EA is already a very profitable company, but even so, big changes will be needed if the company ever wants to clear this debt. Executives have already implemented generative AI tools into the company, though the rate on investment and actual usefulness of these tools remain unclear, which we will never know, honestly. Some have speculated that layoffs, aggressive cost cutting, and further monetization could be the answer. According to Jason Schreier at Bloomberg, EA has told debt investors it will cut $700 million in annual costs, including $170 million in organizational efficiencies, which Schreier interprets as mass layoffs. Yeah, that's the thing. So the company they own EA now with borrowed money. They have to cut costs because EA is not making 20 billion a year. It doesn't. It makes up to 2 billion. That's on a good year. It makes about 1.8 something, right? In a sense, someone said that should be enough to kind of to pay off the interest rates and all that kind of stuff. Great. But is it gonna be enough? Well, where do you cut 700 million out of your fucking company? Like, so you need to cut 700 million annual cost from somewhere, from the company to pay off those interests. So what can we expect? layoffs. That's gonna happen, as we said. Like when this was announced, I think it was Patreon episode that we talked about. I think it was Patreon. Layoffs are coming. So in the next 6 months, I'm expecting before Christmas, there's gonna be loads of layoffs. Loads of layoffs. So be ready. Be ready. It's not gonna be pretty. Some people say that they're gonna sell certain companies out, so certain studios will be sold. For example, BioWare. BioWare is definitely looking there that it might be sold. And is that a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know. Especially for BioWare. You know what? Depending who buys BioWare, I don't know. They could also close down the studio, but I don't think they will. I don't know. These people want to be businessmen. They want to get, hey, if they can get pennies out of it, they will get pennies out of it, because it still goes towards that one singular debt repayment. So that's that. So BioWare and its IP can be sold. What about Battlefield? Can Battlefield be sold? Like, for example, like I know people say like, oh, Battlefield was such a success and everything, they can't get rid of Battlefield. Yeah, they can. Yeah, they can. Because you have to understand that EA is making money from football games, sports games, and Sims. These are the biggest revenues they have in the company. And Battlefield was never in their psyche. It was never in that one franchise that was like the really big money maker for them. With all due respect, comparing what they have, Battlefield was never in the conversation until Battlefield 6. And that's the reality. Until Battlefield 6, Battlefield as a franchise was never that... It was profitable, don't get me wrong, it was selling well, but it was not selling enough like any of the sports games. So of course they wish that would happen. And of course they've been doing changes to make sure that happens. And Battlefield 6 right now, for the first time ever in more than a decade, is in a conversation like, oh yeah, it is a quite valuable franchise. Only now. But again, one game doesn't fix anything. What about the second game? What about the third game? All that kind of stuff, right? What's the future for the franchise moving forward? We don't know. And I'm telling, I think I said in my socials that I will not be surprised, because it's a leverage buyout. What's stopping them? Just squeeze everything you can from the company and just piss off out the company. Just strip everything down, like squeeze everything out, make as much, and because it's on borrowed money, that means they just can take the money as much, they can make as much money as they want. Because realistically, what a leverage buyout is, that if you buy the money with cash, right? Let's say that was like, wait, I had a good example somewhere. I need to find it. Where was it? Trying to find it. I can't find it. Okay. For example. So you buy the company straight up, like let's say for 900 million, right? 100 million. In 5 years, you can maybe make 150 million, and you make 50 million in profit if you just buy the company straight with cash, right? If you just straight up buy, right? You as a sole owner, you can make 50 million profit in those 5 years. But if you buy with a leverage buyout, let's say 30% you put your cash in and the 70% of the rest is debt, so borrowed money. Let's say you invest 30 million, let's say, instead of 100 million. In 5 years, technically, you can make 90 million instead of 50 million. So there's particular ways for you to make money from a leverage buyout on that scale. But that's assuming everything goes according to plan, right? Everything is going well, everything is smooth. Oh, I hit my table and microphone. Assuming everything goes smooth and well and all that kind of stuff. That's great. Will it go smooth and great? That's a different story. And we don't know. And with games EA that is making are expensive. Takes a lot of effort, takes a lot of work, and loads of time. I don't think they have the thing in them to make this into a good, profitable thing. I don't know. I don't think they have it in them. Now, they say that EA will still have creative control, and Andrew Wilson is still going to be the CEO of the company. Cool. They said the same thing about Bungie when Sony bought Bungie. And it's like, yeah, Bungie will operate independently from everything else, and they're gonna do their own thing, and we're not gonna be interfering. What happened to Bungie a couple of months ago? You guys remember? Oh yeah, 50% of the workforce for Bungie lost their jobs, and there's no Destiny 3 coming, and Marathon is not doing that well either. Yeah, and Sony admitted that the company was overvalued. The $3 billion was overvalued. Yeah. Creative control, you say, huh? So that's gonna be the same thing with EA. If EA is not producing what it needs to produce, whatever, like they have one bad game, or whatever the case may be, right? The game is not selling well, money is wasted, heads will be flying. Yeah. Heads will be flying. And I said that don't be surprised if the Battlefield IP in sometime in the future, maybe 5, 8 years, depending, I don't know, depends how things will go. Don't be surprised if the Battlefield IP will be sold to someone like Microsoft. Don't be surprised. Because I just don't think that they have in them, the Saudis and Krishna's company and all that kind of stuff, they have it in them to make these games a success. Or make the company, I don't think they have it in them. They will push some ideas to make as much money as possible, squeeze everything they can from the company, and then move on to something else. And because the company is stripped down, can't repay bills and everything, we'll have a fire sale happening. People will lose their jobs, of course. We already established that, like in the next 6 months. So if you still work at EA, I imagine you're looking behind your back. You're already maybe looking for something else. Because that would be the smartest thing to do right now. Because you don't know what's gonna happen. And where do you cut 700 million annually? Like, yeah, layoffs, obviously. Closing down some studios, obviously. Sell some IP, maybe. But that's temporarily, and it's not really an annual cost. And I don't know what they can call deficiency. What was it called? What was it called? Organizational efficiencies. That can mean anything. That can mean anything. That could be like, oh, we're not gonna hire a cleaner anymore because it's organizational efficiency. Clean your own office, little developers. Here's a vacuum. Clean it yourself or something like that. That's stuff like that. It can be anything. That can be anything. But what are the positives and negatives of EA going private? Because it's not everything doom and gloom, I want to believe, at least the way I imagine. So the positive will be for gamers, for us Battlefield players. It's just like no more quarterly pressure, like from the investors, all that kind of stuff, right? So EA has to make money because investors are demanding. So in a sense, that's kind of positive for us. They don't have to answer to them, so they can make their own timelines. They make it, make their own decisions and everything. So that's that, and in a sense, maybe a bit more longer development times for the developers, because they don't have the pressure to release a new game every year or every quarter or every 6 months or whatever the case may be, right? They don't have that pressure anymore. So in a sense, maybe that's why Battlefield 6 is going through these changes. That's why they're committing, in a sense, why might people not see, but they're committing a lot of, engine redesigning and making sure that Battlefield 6 have all these features when the game came out. Because usually, with every Battlefield game that came out in the last 10 years or 15 years, game comes out, just that's it. Skeleton crew, make some content, make some maps to last for a year or two. The rest of the studio is off to make a new game. To this day, I don't know if that's the case now. I don't think that because from what it seems, Battlefield 6 is getting minimum 2 years of support. So that's 3 years of support in total, minimum. And I would not be surprised, and that's not even guarantee that the new game is going to come out 2028. It could be 29, could be or when the new gen consoles coming out, whatever the case may be, right? in a sense, they don't have to release a new game. They just have to make sure that this game is surviving long enough, as long as possible, and just continues racking some money, with the microtransactions, all that kind of stuff, right? And when the new game comes out, sure, that's a different story. But yeah, in a sense, it kind of puts less pressure on them because that means they can make sure that the product is actually good enough to be released, because it's a private company. They don't have to reply to investors like they want their money now, right? So in a sense, that's a good thing. The negative thing is that, hey, that 20 million debt we're talking about, or 18, 20, whatever, like I said, it's on EA. That debt is on EA, not Kushner and Saudis. So that means more monetization, more microtransactions, more layoffs, and just everything's gonna be more aggressive. Hey, buy this skin now before it disappears forever. Oh, buy this before whatever they get me, right? There will be loads of FOMO, loads of things that have like more expansions, whatever the case may be, like depending on what they're making, right? Like, but they will be very aggressive with microtransactions. Biggest worry, of course, as long as it's not pay to win, like that also can be very enticing to them to do, like, and that pay to win can be, oh, get this gun early by 3 weeks or some shit, right? We already had the situation before with one of the mini battle passes a couple of months ago, and people did not like it for obvious reasons, and people were demanding change, like Battlefield community demanding change, like, hey, this is not okay. You can't say a new gun is out and then you get the new gun 3 weeks later after after it was released. No, because you don't have enough points to complete the weeklies, right? You complete the weeklies and you still don't have the points. That's kind of stupid, right? So they stopped doing that, so I'm glad. But that's what can happen. That's what can happen. So it's a mixed bag of things that might happen, but we don't know what might happen. But one thing is obvious. Layoffs are coming. Some IPs probably can be sold and get rid of, all that kind of stuff. And Battlefield is not safe from this either. Like, just because Battlefield 6 was selling well and doing well, all that kind of stuff, that's great. But like I said, the Battlefield's never been that big moneymaker in the last 15, 20 years. Only now Battlefield 6 is considered someone like, oh yeah, it's a really good franchise that brings loads of money. Yeah. And yeah, there's gonna be loads of resource prioritization, will be loads of steel reconstruction happening, which of course will affect development times and everything. It's gonna be a shit show. It's gonna be an absolute shit show. Regarding, I remember there was a leak, maybe last year. There's some mentions of Battlefield Mobile coming, and there was one being made 2 years ago or a year ago before Battlefield 6 came out or something like that. That thing got cancelled, never released. But I can imagine that Battlefield 6 is like the starting point for their new upcoming future for Battlefield. I know there was a conversation about people say, well, why the animations are like this, why the game is so slow and all that kind of stuff, and someone said, well, yeah, it's like that on purpose because to make the game as simple as possible, less demanding, all that kind of stuff. It's good enough to be a AAA shooter, but it's not overly over-designed to make it really expensive on the memory, on the game, on all the on the equipment you have. Like, as long as it can run and look fine enough, it's fine. And I kinda okay with that as long as it's done properly. And I would not be surprised if Battlefield 6 is low-key being stripped down to be like a mobile type of game and maybe somewhat connected. So, in a sense, imagine. I know it's just an idea. So, to make more money for EA and push this franchise forward with the Saudi deal, I will not be imagining if they're gonna push the EA. They will push EA to do more mobile stuff. I can imagine, especially for Battlefield, because even Call of Duty has mobile. Like, sure, it's Call of Duty mobile. It's not the same as the thing that they made Call of Duty Warzone, which is RIP. That was actually not too bad, but hey, whatever. They have a mobile thing that kind of brings everything together. At least they have a presence in the mobile space, and they know what Call of Duty, lots of people know what Call of Duty is. And if Battlefield can be on mobile and bring loads of players from, Asian countries or whatever into the game, into the franchise, hey, look at that, more money coming your way. So I will not be surprised if Battlefield 6 low-key is being worked on in the background to be some sort of more mobile equivalent for that. I don't know if it's going to be this, like, connected to Battlefield 6 or the new upcoming game. I don't know. But if you could play Battlefield 6 on mobile somehow, and complete your battle passes, everything's connected in one spot, and everything you can play on any platform you want. You can play on PC or you can play on mobile. I'm okay with that. Why not? I think that would be one of the positives. I think that's fine. Like, and of course, people will be like, Battlefield on mobile, what kind of stupid shit this is? Battlefield's always been a PC or console player. Well, you know what? Chill. Chill. As long as the games are being played well and they work fine, I don't give a damn on what platform they are. Of course, I will always play on PC first and always be a PC first. But if I'm, let's say, like I said, I'm going on holiday soon. If I'm going on holiday and I want to play, some Battlefield and I don't have a PS5 or I don't have a console or a PC, whatever nearby, hey, I still have my phone. And I can launch Battlefield 6, for example, on my phone and play some complete battle pass or do some, challenges, whatever, And of course, there's a bigger question like, how the aim assist will work and playlist, all that kind of stuff, right? Like, I get that, but that's small potato stuff right now. We talk about the big potato stuff, if anyone gets the reference. That's small potato. Let's focus on the big potato stuff for now. So, which is, yeah. But yeah, Saudi thing is gonna be a very interesting development because I'm worried. I have to admit, I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I'm really worried. In a sense, it's good that they're gonna have less pressure from investors to make their games and how they want to make their games. They can make whatever they want. They think they will make them money. In a sense, that's gonna be great overall for the franchise because less pressure and more focus on making the franchise profitable and fun and good, all that kind of stuff. Great. But on the short term, loads of people are gonna lose their jobs. There's going to be loads of reconstruction happening in the background. And because all that stuff is happening, it's going to affect people working on these games because like suddenly all the plans they had is just destroyed, right? Because we have to start from scratch in a sense, and do we have even the power to make all this that we want? Now, of course, they say like, oh yeah, we're going to be investing more money into technology, all that kind of stuff and everything, make sure that EA is being profitable and still the leading game publisher, game developer, whatever you guys want to be. But yeah, also like I said, don't be surprised if Battlefield doesn't hit its full cylinders, or people don't think, or people inside the studio or Saudis think it's not making enough money as we're supposed to. Maybe we can sell the IP to someone else and just focus fully on sports games, whatever the case may be, right? Loads of things can happen, right? BioWare, of course, is one of the first companies that come to my mind when it comes to like selling the company or selling the IP. Get rid of that, annual cost of, developers working on these games. As far as I remember, the new Mass Effect game is being worked on, so loads of question marks, yeah. And yeah, like I said, it's a leveraged buyout, so that means the debt is on EA. That Kushner and Saudis. So in a sense, they, like I said, they technically can just like squeeze as much money as they can from the company, get as much money as they can from the company. They made their profit, all that kind of stuff, and then say, oops, company is not profitable anymore. We will announce bankruptcy and we're gonna sell IPs in a fire sale, and they're gonna piss off. They're not gonna get any repercussions or any problems because the debt is not on them. It's not on them. It's on the company. So I don't know why that is allowed in the first place, how this is legal. Again, I'm not really an expert at this. I don't know. But this is the fact they can borrow the money and then put the debt on the company, not yourself, even though you're the one borrowing the money to buy the company. And basically the banks and everything, they'll have... You get the idea, right? It's just doesn't make sense in my eyes, but then again, all this business, all this shit just doesn't make sense in the first place. And yeah, like I said, loads of people have been mentioning that majority of leverage buyouts never end well. Never end well. It always ends up with the company being destroyed, stripped, until there's nothing left. And Saudis and Kushner buying EA is the biggest leverage buyout ever happened in history. So we're talking magnitudes that are just unimaginable to our human brain. So yeah, that's gonna be very interesting. That's all I'm gonna say. I don't know. I'm just worried. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm just really worried about everything that might happen. And I don't know what else to say about it. Just like I'm just worried. Just really, really worried. And especially it's Saudis owning the company. And I don't agree with everything the Saudis do as a country, politically and everything. I hate the fact I get what they're doing, but I hate how they approach it. I hate how I understand why you're doing this, all that kind of stuff, but I hate how they approach it. It's just like, now it makes it easier for me to support you. Like, I'm sorry, I can't. Especially, listen, I will straight up say I'm not okay with whatever Saudis are doing. Sure, I can be on a pedestal. Oh, look at me, I was not talking about human rights and everything. Like, listen, fam, at least we're not chopping journalists in pieces just because he says something not nice about the political, about the government or whatever in Saudi. That's all I'm gonna say. Listen, at least we don't do that. Nothing to do with racism, it's just simple political stuff. Like, it's just that. It's just that. I never support the Qatar, for example, World Cup, because, hey, it was built with slaves. People died. It's not nice. It's not great. Of course, I don't want to end on this negative note on this episode, but that's the truth. I'm sorry. In a sense, I do have some sort of principles in me. Of course, they're not the most pure, the most amazing principles out there, but hey, can we just be normal human beings and be respectful to each other, and don't be douchebags to each other, and don't be mean to each other, and people don't kill each other for whatever reason, or for money, or whatever the case may be, right? Look, that's why I'm such a somewhat not that social person. I'm just like, I want to stay away from everyone because it's just people being people, unfortunately. Anyway, so I've been mumbling for an hour, so I'm gonna end here. Before I end with all of it, I just have to mention what's the future for the Battlefield 1 podcast in the next upcoming month. I'll be gone for 2 weeks. We have episodes pre-recorded already, scheduled to go for every week. So if on Patreon, you're gonna get each episode a weekly early. So that's that. You're gonna get each episode a week early, and if you listen on public feeds, you're gonna get a new episode as normal every week. Monday, 1 p.m. UK time, 8 a.m. Florida time. I don't know time zones. But anyway, the same time you always receive the podcast, you will be receiving this for the next 3 weeks. We have we're gonna record the Q&A this weekend. So that's going to be our next episode. And you can get early access to it on Tuesday. And from there, it's going to be pre-recorded episodes for 2 weeks. And yeah, it's going to we have some cool episodes pre-recorded. We have one episode with Andre. We have a roundtable episode where we talk about Battlefield 6 a year later. And yeah, some cool pre-recorded episodes. You guys have been submitting questions for the Q&A. I don't know how the recording is gonna go, but we'll see. We'll see how that goes. We have about 50 questions to answer. Some really good ones, some really bad ones. But hey, we will answer all the questions you guys asked. Thank you guys for submitting all your questions and everything. Thank you so much. Thank you for everything, guys. Thank you guys for listening. And yeah, so that's gonna be the plan. So the next 2 weeks, 3 weeks, is gonna be pre-recorded episodes. Is because I'm gone. I'm not gonna be at my PC. There's someone gonna be at my PC, but it's not gonna be me. Because the cat needs to be taken care of. And so if something happens, I'll always have someone to go on my PC and do something that needs to be done. But realistically, there will be nothing to be done. Everything is already scheduled, pre-recorded, edited, done. Everything should be going smoothly with no problems. And I'll be back at the end of August. I think I'm gonna be back right as the code beta starts, and I'm gonna play the code beta. Of course, I will play the new phase 2 of season 2, all that kind of stuff, right? I'll give my impressions of that 2 weeks later, I guess. And yeah, and from there we're just gonna go as normal with no maybe changes will happen, but anyway, you know what I mean. Okay, I've been rambling for a while, so that's all I'm gonna say. So guys, thank you guys so much. Thank you guys for listening. I don't know if this was a good episode. I have no idea. You tell me. But yeah, again, I'm really worried how the Saudi thing will go. I have no idea. But yeah. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for interacting with me. Thank you for everything. Join our Discord. Join our Patreon. Join patreon.com/TheLankySoldier. That's patreon.com/TheLankySoldier for extra episodes, extra content, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, so thank you guys for everything. Thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you for listening to my Jibba Jabba. And I will see you in a couple of weeks. So thank you guys for everything. Enjoy the pre-recorded episodes in the next 2-3 weeks. Have a good one. Thank you guys for everything. We'll see you on the battlefield.